Welcome, fair listeners. This is Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime, a podcast where three weird but oddly charismatic friends sit down once a week to discuss true crime and gossip about a bunch of bullshit. How are you doing, ladies?
Ooh,
Concerned, AJ.
huh?
You look concerned.
You know what? It's Tuesday and it's been a week. It's already been a week. Let's start with the jury verdict out of Minnesota today.
Yes.
That's some heavy news right there. And then our topic this week is particularly special because of two other headlines in the news lately, and we'll get to it, but it's been a week and it's only Tuesday.
Yes.
See, you're starting out with a bummer. I was gonna say I'm super stoked because it's 87 degrees outside. And last night I found out I had leftover nachos and I ate all of them at midnight. So I'm having a great time. I don't know about you.
Well,
I'm thriving.
I'm in beautiful Colorado where it was 60 degrees out Monday morning, and then it snowed last night, and then it snowed today. And I'm not even bothering to check the weather anymore because it doesn't matter.
Because you live now. So
Disgusting.
enjoy.
Those heated seats are coming in real handy this week.
Should we introduce ourselves, ladies?
Let's.
So I'm AJ. I'm the witch.
And what's your fun fact, AJ?
Oh, okay. So fun fact. Once upon a time, Randy and I went to Walmart dressed as the devil and a demon for your bachelorette party.
You did indeed.
We like bosses walked into like Walmart. Like we're like, we have to get wine and beer. Let's go.
I was in my 6-inch stilettos and
Full
I
on
am
costumes.
6'3" in those shoes, and we got some. It was what, August? Nowhere near Halloween.
It was closer to Halloween. I think it was like closer to Halloween.
But the thing is about like El Paso Walmarts is, that wasn't the weirdest outfit for the evening there.
That is
so,
certainly
100%.
one of the more entertaining ones, but definitely not the weirdest.
And what are
Definitely
you
not the
drinking,
weirdest.
AJ?
So I'm really excited about what I'm drinking. I'm so glad you asked me that. I've picked out a special bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. And this is a bottle that is called Prophecy, brought to you by the High Priestess. And it's hard to see.
I love that one.
It's so good. It's so good. And so when we get to my case, you will see why it is very prophetic that this is a prophecy bottle of wine.
Oh, foreshadowing. I like it.
Well, I'm Sunny, and I'm the scientist. And my fun fact is that I eat a Costco-sized jar of pickles every week.
I am a witness, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, she does.
Yeah, your pickles aren't safe if I come to your house. I will eat them, all of them.
Literally.
And I put a little twist on my bourbon this week where I do have an old fashioned, but I put some gingerbread schnapps in there that I had left over.
Oh, sugar, you had me at schnapps.
Well, sugar. I was going to try and do a Sean Connery voice and I decided against it. So
Sunny, that looks like a little bit more than 3 fingers there.
We start out with a hand of bourbon this week.
It's Tuesday.
No one's judging.
It's been a week and it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Well, I'm Randi and I am the salty military vet, aka the other witch. TOW? Nope. Okay. Look, I said it's been a long week, okay? Don't ask me to function. So, fun fact about me is, despite how I look, thank you if you're watching us on YouTube at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime. My favorite color is hot pink.
Yes.
I blame Sunny for that. My favorite color used to be black, and then I started hanging out with Sunny, and all of a sudden I was into glitter and sparkles and pink and shit.
That's when you get power washed with sunshine for years. It rubs off on you. Or you're like waterboarded into liking those things. It's one or the other.
You just have
Waterboarding
no control over it.
waterboarding at Guantanamo Bay sounds amazing if you don't know what either of those things are.
AJ, you wanna tell us about our topic this week?
Oh, you betcha. So we are covering this week solved cold cases. So thank you for listening with us. We appreciate you. So we decided to tackle a kind of topic that would be very mysterious, but give us some closure, hopefully.
Let's do it.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Shit's about to get real.
That's right. As my dad would say, put your big girl panties on, which in retrospect was just kind of creepy. But
Oh.
anyway, I hope he's not listening.
JK. I mean,
I love you.
love you, mean it.
You
All right,
raised
AJ,
me.
take us away.
All right. So when I started to research this topic of solved cold cases, there was a lot of themes that like were immediately jumping out. And so there was like, certain cold cases that became solved. And then now that we have certain laws and mandates because of those cases. Well, this case that I'm about to tell you has been labeled one of the oldest cold cases to ever be solved. Now, to be fair, I did find some slightly older cases that have been solved, quote unquote, but this one is pretty old and it's been solved and there is a measurement of justice. So I liked that.
An iota.
Yes.
That's an iota of justice. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys today about the story of the most beautiful and talented Irene Garza. And Irene Garza was born and raised in McAllen, Texas. She's a Texas gal, just like me.
Yes.
I feel like you've got a theme going there, AJ. I feel like you keep bringing it close to home.
And you know what? I didn't realize how close to home this case would bring me until I like went down the rabbit hole. Anyway, I'm not giggling because of this case because it's not funny.
That's Sunny's case.
Sicko. She's like,
Seconds
no,
later.
that thing out the window that you can't.
I'm giggling because there is finally, for this case, I just, at the very end of it all, it feels good to have an answer, finally. Okay, so Irene Garza, she was born in McAllen, Texas on November 15th, 1934. So she disappeared April 16th, 1960. So 4 days ago on our original recording date, that would have been the 61st anniversary of her disappearance. So her energy is very present, I feel like it's very strong because it's anniversary and it's ancestral and, she's kind of this mythological creature at this point in time for McAllen, Texas. She's much of a legend. Okay, so her case was solved exactly 57 years, 7 months, and 22 days to solve this case and bring it to justice.
Jeez.
And when I say mystery, it really wasn't a mystery at all. It was very clear who was most likely the perpetrator of her demise, but for some odd reason, which we just, as women, we fail to understand it. We will see why this was perpetually swept under the rug.
I feel like I know how this ends.
Did it happen outside of a kitchen? Because if it did, I'm confused. It's big and scary out there, AJ. I don't know. If it doesn't involve buttered toast, my mind
give up. I just give up.
I just give up. Oh, I'll just.
Oh, heavens.
So the So she's born 1934. She's 25. So she goes missing on April 16th, 1960. There wouldn't be a conviction in this case until December 8th, 2017. So we're going from 1960 to 2017 of conviction. Like that's a lot of time and space. And there was only really one suspect like this whole time. Shocking, right? And it was Father John Bernard Fiat. Fiat. I've heard it said both ways.
His name doesn't matter.
His name doesn't really matter at all. Okay, so like I said, this is the 61st anniversary of her disappearance. Irene Garza, she was 25 years old. She lived with her parents, and she told her mom and dad, it was a Saturday. She told her mom and dad that she was going to take the car and go to church. She was going to go give her confessional. She was a devout Catholic. And so this was something very sacred to Irene. So she borrowed her mom and dad's car, and she took the car down to the Sacred Heart Church. Again, this is in McAllen, Texas, which in the late 1950s was still very segregated. And Irene was brought up in a household that was kind of able to step across that socioeconomic line and make a better lives for themselves as Hispanics in a Anglo-American society. So she's already very different than really everyone around her. Okay, so anyway, she borrows her parents' car. She takes it down to the Sacred Heart Church to go give her confessional. And this is right before Easter Sunday in a deeply Catholic community. She calls her friend, and I think her name was Suzanne. She calls her friend Suzanne to see if she'll go to confession with her. But Suzanne wasn't home to take the call, so Irene ended up going to confessional by herself. And this is a really important part of the, yeah. Bum, bum, bum. I wonder how it is.
I feel like
And that's my case, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like we need additional like sound effects, like slide whistle. Like that would be a good slide whistle moment.
JK, she went to confession, made it home safe and sound. The end.
Yeah, she got like 12 Hail Marys though, so it totally sucked.
It's so much more worse than that.
Oh, we're all just trying to have a good time, AJ.
That's right. Okay. So one of my key sources was a Texas Monthly article. And if you're a Texan, you know about Texas Monthly. And this is a beautiful article. So I'm going to just quote it straight from there. That's my source. But they did it so much justice, I didn't want to rewrite it. So just a little insight to Irene. To her friends and family, Irene was many things. A natural beauty who had been crowned Miss All South Texas Sweetheart in 1958, a former prom and homecoming queen at Pan American College, an accomplished teacher who worked with McAllen's most disadvantaged children, a devout Catholic who was active in the Legion of Mary, the first person in her family to attend college and graduate school. She had written a letter to one of her girlfriends, 5 pages of just like this beautiful handwriting. She tells her friend that she was having to like overcome a lot of like self-awareness. She was very, very timid. At the elementary school where she taught 2nd grade, she wrote she had been elected secretary to the PTA. This may not sound like much, but to me, it means a great deal, she explained. It means I'm overcoming my terrible shyness and becoming surer of myself. Her job was a source of great pride. These children I am teaching have been such a joy to me, but it was in her faith which she returned to again and again in her letter that sustained her. And this is the part of the letter that gives me chills. She wrote to her friend, "Remember the last time we talked? I told you I was afraid of death. Well, I think I'm cured. You see, I've been going to communion and mass daily, and you can't imagine the courage and faith and happiness it has given me. So her greatest fear at this point is to just die. And now she writes to her friend like that she's overcome this fear. It's her faith that has guided her there. And now she's
decide if that's beautiful or creepy. Like I'm not sure. I'm on the fence.
It's both. It's both. Yeah. So this is Holy Week. She goes to confession on Saturday. You know, the Easter Sunday is the next day. She had taken great pride in working with the children. She had set up like this whole Easter egg hunt, the whole 9 yards, but she didn't come home that Saturday after confessional. And 2 days after that, she went missing on a Saturday. 2 days after that, on a Monday, her beige high-heeled shoe was found inches from the curb near the church. The following Thursday, 6 days after her disappearance, her body was found floating in an irrigation canal. Her blouse was undone and her underwear were missing. And an autopsy would later determine that she was beaten, suffocated, and raped while unconscious.
Ugh. Oh, why?
Authorities.
Okay.
Let's bring in the authorities.
Oh, let's bring in where's my gun? I was gonna sit here and hold my shotgun when you talk
Did I
about these
mention
things.
the sheriff
Is
was
the-
Catholic?
Is the takeaway don't go to confessional? Is this the takeaway from this story?
Yeah,
I'd say that's a strong footnote.
I mean, yeah, this happened, but like, what was she wearing? I mean, who goes to confession? People that need to confess things.
Who wears beige?
And see, the Irene, she was described in many articles that you're either paying attention to her because she was just in the room, or you were paying attention to her because your wife was jealous of her.
I want to say real quick, sorry, AJ, for our listeners, I am being drippingly sarcastic in what was she wearing, and I am being very sarcastic with that. People that get sexually assaulted did zero to deserve it, and I'm kind of throwing shade at the whole rape culture that's perpetuated right now but what was she wearing? I heard she had a condom in her wallet, so which is total and utter bullshit. Okay, sorry. Climbing off my soapbox. We're seething.
It's fine.
Already. We are 3 minutes into AJ's case.
I've got a little bit more to get through.
Oh,
good.
Okay,
Good.
So the sheriff is Catholic,
It's
predominantly Catholic community. So she goes missing, and 2 days later they find her high heel, and then one of her fellow teachers reports finding her leather purse in a field as well. And they take it to her family, and her family confirms that yes, that's her purse. Okay, so authorities found few clues and struggled to piece together moments before her death. But one fact became very clear. Among the last to see her was a 27-year-old priest with horn-rimmed glasses. And he's described that way like multiple times. And you'll see it in the pictures on the posts. So this is the Reverend John Fight. He was the last one to see her alive.
mm-hmm.
I'm like picturing him right now, and I don't know if I'm right, but it's like I'm not saying I have anything against horn rim glasses, but like I don't know. I feel like you got some sneaky stuff going on, sir.
Yeah.
Behind those peepers.
I already hate his face.
Okay. So where was I? Okay, here we go. So Reverend John Fight. So despite the lack of evidence, Hidalgo County Sheriff E.E. Vickers vowed that his detectives would leave no stone unturned. Mayor Philip Boyai?
Mm-hmm.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Can we call him
announced
Booyah? Can we call him Booyah, please?
Booyah.
Mayor
Booyah.
Philip Booyah announced that McAllen City's commissioners were giving the police department a blank check for the cost of the probe so its detectives would have whatever necessary money to help solve this crime. Local businesses, including the bedrock of the city's Anglo establishment, the Benston brothers, posted reward money totaling $10,000. The investigation was no less ambitious. Detectives questioned more than 500 people in the weeks following the murder, taking statements from Irene's friends, family members, ex-boyfriends, co-workers, and anyone who might have seen her the night she disappeared. Sex offenders across the valley were interrogated, as were suspects from as far away as El Paso.
El Paso.
El Chuco.
Taco Cabana.
700 miles to the west. So
Oh,
they
wow.
took the time and research to spend on chasing leads all the way to El Paso from McAllen. But they wouldn't look at this glaringly obvious individual that was basically taunting the police throughout the initial investigation openly.
I mean, it like on paper, it sounds like they were like doing a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, they look great in the paper. The Catholic media made sure of it.
It briefs well.
They looked real good. So when they do find her body, it's like legendary in McAllen when the sheriff goes to tell her mother that her body has been found. The wail that came out of her mother was like otherworldly, and it's like kind of this like haunting legend of the town today that when her mother heard that, you know, her body had been found, she was just devastated, and like this like guttural cry came from her for losing her child.
I mean, I feel like until the body is found, you're still kind of hoping that
Mhm.
you find them alive.
And that was absolutely how they saw it. Okay. All right.
I'm
So
waiting-
they went
waiting
all
for
the
the
way to El
horn run.
Paso. Let's bring it back. And AJ, let's bring it back. Okay, so polygraph examiners from the Department of Public Safety in Austin administered lie detector tests to no fewer than 61 people, grilling any man who had had any luck to take Irene out on a date. The Texas Rangers, who had conducted extensive interviews of everybody who had been around Irene. But funny, we still have this priest.
Okay, no, but I'm just wondering, like, I don't know what the dating scene was like, you know, like back when, but Randy, like, what if they're like, hey, everyone you've been on a date with in the last like 2 years, like, hey yo, what's up?
Oh, they talked to two people. All both of them.
All both of them didn't see anything.
She kept asking my zodiac sign. It was really weird. So we ended the date.
She kept burning sage and was getting
Lots of crystals. We don't know what was going on. She read my
She kept
aura.
whispering into a leather sack.
You know, it's like, oh, her smile lit up a room. Everyone was her friend. Like, no, she had RBF hardcore and she had a lot of crystals. So, yeah, that.
I'm just she kept grabbing stray cats and saying, "This is my familiar."
Oh my God.
Fun
I'm
fact,
sorry.
I saw a
Please
black cat
continue.
going home today and I almost like jumped out and grabbed it, but it ran into a house. So it probably wasn't a stray.
Okay, come back.
Circle back.
Circle back.
Let's come back. I don't even know how we got on that tangent. I'm not sure. Okay, so when they found Irene's body, there was very little physical evidence. She was actually found floating in an irrigation canal, as I said. So that water had washed away any hope of physical evidence on her clothes or on her body. So she was found, her blouse was undone, and her underwear were missing. She had again been sexually assaulted and suffocated and beaten. Okay, so publicly, again, the public Catholic priests, the media, the sheriffs, they were all seeming to proceed, but like they were like, oh, we're fighting so hard, but we don't have any evidence. Oh no.
Oh no.
So it would later come out that there was like an off the record meeting between the sheriff and some media reporters and a Catholic priest, and they were like, we know who did it, we know that it was John Fight, we're gonna handle it, and this is our agreement.
No.
So here's why there was this agreement. Before Irene Garza's disappearance, there was another woman who was assaulted like in the same area by around the same time. She was assaulted from behind. She was leaning down to confess, and a man assaulted her from behind. He stuffed a rag in her mouth and she bit him on the hand. She bit him so hard on his finger like that she could taste blood. He throws her against the wall and runs out of the church. But she was able to see enough of him that she identifies Reverend John Fiat. So the agreement was he would plead no contest to the assault on, her name was Maria America Guerra. He would plead no contest to that. He paid a $500 fine, and they would not press charges in the Irene Garza case because they didn't want the Catholic faith to look bad.
Of course.
So history lesson, who was running for president in 1960? Anybody know? Anybody?
Girl, don't go all teacher on us. Stop it. Don't you?
Who was it? Handsome.
What year is
Very
this?
handsome, 1960.
We're talking some Kennedy action, aren't we?
We're talking some Kennedy.
We're talking some Kennedy action.
Kennedy Catholic action.
Oh,
so there was a letter that came out for this case that the Catholic Church was covering this up in order to protect the campaign for John F. Kennedy and any future electoral runoffs that he could possibly have. That the Catholic faith could not sustain. Happy homicide to you.
Happy please cover up, Mr. President.
And that's exactly what happened. So he only gets charged for aggravated assault in this previous assault and will not be charged anything for Irene Garza, and it just gets swept under the rug. So they ship him off. They're like, let's make him a monk because let's treat the sin and not the sinner. We hate the sin, but not the sinner. So we're going to religion it out of you. So we're gonna send you off to a monastery where you have to like self-flagellate, you have to confess, you have to do, all of these things in order to prove yourself as a monk. Like this is a place for the disturbed priests.
Boy, that sounds like a great summer camp. The summer camp of disturbed priests.
Turns out being a monk really wasn't his style. He didn't dig it. He confessed that he had killed this woman to his mentoring monk who was trying to like rehabilitate him. So Reverend John Fight comes up to him and says like, yo, I'm ready to get out. I'm rehabilitated. I don't feel like I should attack women anymore from behind while they're kneeling. Jeez. I think I can be okay now. So he's like, okay, awesome. I think you're great too. Let's send you on a mission. Let's see if you can like be around a woman and not attack her. So he sends him to go visit 3 churches to see if he can refrain himself from attacking women from behind.
What?
Jeez. Sick.
Sorry.
This is the litmus test for this guy. Like
what?
Yeah.
It's
So
okay.
he comes
We're gonna
back.
start doing this for every crime. So I stab somebody, I don't know, 80 times, and they're like, all right, well, how about we send you in front of like, I don't know, 3 people, and let's see if you stab them. And if you don't, you're probably good. Probably fine.
No, this is fine. Everything's fine.
Everything seems fine.
So turns out he doesn't want to be a monk. He's like, I just was trying out priesthood because I didn't know what else to do. It wasn't like a calling. It wasn't like a deeply rooted
It was to get out of
need
jail.
for anything. It was a get out of jail. So in order to further hide this scandal, they send him from Minnesota to go to another monastery in New Mexico, where he is now put in charge of other damaged and pedophilia priests. He's literally signing off on other priests to go, like, playing musical chairs with these guys so that they wouldn't get in trouble. Okay, you got in trouble here, then I'm just going to move you over here.
Camp
Now,
ever.
yeah.
Jeez.
So the memory of Irene never faded away from McAllen, and people always wanted justice. And unfortunately, her parents did pass away before anything could be resolved with their knowledge. So it took until 2017 when a new DA was finally put into McAllen, into Hidalgo County. This DA in particular was very resolute on bringing this case to justice, because this Reverend John Fight, he came out of the priesthood in like 1972. He married a woman who is strikingly similar in her physical looks to Irene Garza. Gets married, has a family, settles down in Phoenix, Arizona, becomes a upstanding member of charity and Catholic faith in the community, buying houses for homeless people, and he's just so good to the poor, and he just gives us so much, and all the while, like, he's the only one. So this new DA comes in 2017. They finally bring charges. They bring in the 2 priests that John Fight had confessed to, and they had corroborating stories, and it was enough to convince a jury to finally indict him. He's 87 years old at this point.
What year is this?
2017.
Jesus.
So defense is allowed to present all the evidence, including the prior convictions that this father had in front of him. And the jury finds him guilty of the murder of Irene Garza. And so finally, the surviving members of her family have some closure. This old man is, and you look at him and you think like, oh, he could be my grandpa. Like, why would we do this to this person? But he is like, he's an evil person. I looked at so many resources to see, like, does he ever say he did it? Like, does he ever say why he did it? And when you get to the details, and I saved this for the last, and I'm almost done. He picks her out of the line from confessional, and he says, you're too good for the confessional area. I need to hear your confession in the rectory. He takes her to the rectory, and you don't question a priest in 1960 McAllen, Texas. You just go with him. So Irene, being very sweet and polite and feminine and devout in her Catholic faith, follows this priest to this rectory where there's no one around. And he proceeds to beat her, undo her blouse, and fondle her breasts, ties her up, and leaves her in the basement where no one can hear her, and goes on to hear some more confessions. Comes back, gets Irene, takes her to the priest house that's a few blocks away. Easter Sunday, puts her in the bathtub with a bag over her head. And she's telling him, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And he leaves her there to go to Easter Sunday mass. And when he comes back, she's dead. And he takes her body and he throws her in the irrigation canal. And people want to know why in 2017 there needs to be justice for Irene Garza.
So that dude got to live out his whole life.
So he was finally brought to justice in 2017. A jury found him guilty of first-degree murder in the case of Irene Garza. And so justice was served, but he died in prison 2 years later.
Oh, of course he did.
Health issues. You know, he had a full life. He got married, had children, had grandchildren, and got to be a contributing member of society. And I feel like that was his way of trying to make himself feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that he finally was brought to task.
It's frustrating though, because it's just, as in a lot of other cases, it's like too little too late.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, you know, you have this whole police task force and everything, and it's like when you're playing hide and seek with your kids and they're like hiding under a blanket right there, and you're like, oh my gosh, where could they be? Are you in the closet? No. Are you behind the door? No. And they're like, hee hee hee. And you're like, weird. I thought I heard something. Must have been my imagination.
Exactly.
That is an infuriating story because, I mean, you would think the last person to see her alive would be the prime suspect. And he should have been, but it was, we're going to send you to a monastery with sick fucks just like you.
Yep.
I want to see, like, I feel like it's like a movie where they go to the montage, but it's like similar to Zoolander, where they're all like washing a Jeep together and like being ridiculous, but they're all like sick and twisted. And you're like, ugh, like it's, I don't know. And then similar to Zoolander, then everything's on fire and then the monastery doesn't exist anymore. That would be nice too.
Jeez. Well, thank you, AJ. That was
You're welcome.
like
Perfect
you said, in
beginning to the shit sandwich.
the reverse shit sandwich, there was an iota of justice.
Just a little bit.
Little
A little
smidge.
prophecy that, sir, you're gonna pay your price.
Lord have mercy.
Lord.
Okay, y'all. So you may be mad at me for two reasons this week, and here's
You did zero research.
no. So reason number one is I misread the assignment. So I am doing unsolved cold cases.
Oh God.
And do you have any idea how much easier mine would have been had I realized it was solved? Because the categories I picked were really hard to find unsolved cases. So a little upset about that, but that's fine. And then also, I don't know how you're going to feel about my cases in general. So we're going to see.
So par for the course.
Okay, so I'm going to give you two options. So in one option, we work from most recent backwards. And then in one, we start in the past and end to now.
You usually do most recent back, so let's do that.
Okay, well then, welcome to Sunny's Bakery. I have 3 of bread for you. And per usual, they're all really stupid. So, all right, so we are going to be starting our time over in England, near Kent, in a place called Tunbridge Wells. And this is in September of 2020. And I am going to give you a little bit of information about a cold case in Tunbridge Wells, because there's a serial flasher on the list.
Where did you get my case?
And so this was my favorite thing, is that many of the articles I read were like, well, Tunbridge Wells probably sounds familiar to you. And I was like, it does not. And they're like, it's the location of Groombridge Place.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, also, it's the inspiration. It's the inspiration for Burlstone Manor. Nope.
Still no.
Okay, nope. So we had gotten this far. In the Valley of Fear, and this became a little bit clearer, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fourth and final Sherlock Holmes novel. Why is this relevant, you might ask? Well, the serial flasher was known in all three instances to be seen wearing a Sherlock Holmes hat.
Oh, God.
I'm here for it.
So it was a man that, by those who have seen him, was described as being potentially in his 40s or 50s, having a gray beard, and regularly wearing a deerstalker cap. So, that, and what's interesting in all of the sightings, that was the only thing that he was wearing. So there were 3 instances around Tunbridge Wells where Sherlock, I tried to come up with a really good, like, kind of pun on Sherlock Holmes that would have to do with flashing, and I would love any help with that. You got anything? Sherlock Holmes? Is that?
Nope.
Well, nothing?
No.
Well, so Sherlock Holmes was three different times around Tunbridge Wells, each time too far away to get a really good description other than what has already been given. A local, when asked, said, "This guy is asking to be caught, really. Anyone wearing a deerstalker is pretty easy to spot, so hopefully he'll be tracked down before much longer." The Kent police have launched several manhunts for
his manhunter.
Holmes. But unfortunately, he was never caught. And so, fun fact is that deerstalkers have become synonymous with Sherlock Holmes, even though in the original novels, he was never described as wearing one. Yeah, so unfortunately, Tunbridge Wells is left scarred and with no closure. And to add insult to injury, in March of 2021, another flasher was known to be on the rise, this time wearing tartan trousers.
Wouldn't it be difficult to be a flasher in any kind of trousers?
You would think so. So this is why I'm wondering, I'm like, was it a skort type of a situation? Like tartan skort, maybe?
I don't know, but I think our next sticker has to be serial flasher.
What a skort, little skort.
Little tartan skort. But, what's kind of interesting, so I did find, when I was doing my research, quite a few cases of serial flashers, sometimes spanning 20 years, who then caught.
Of course they weren't.
Because so how do you flash for 20 years? And I'm talking like many instances where they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And there were, but this one was just my favorite. And again, there seems to be sort of a thread going through of attire.
Yes, for sure.
Flashers from.
That's why I don't understand how male flashers are never caught. Because if I see a female in like a miniskirt, I'm just like, okay, she's flashing people, just all right. But you see a dude in a trench coat, you're immediately suspicious.
Like it had to be. Yeah, I think that they're never going to be able to bring trench coats back because you're just immediately like, I know what you're up to. And especially if you see a guy wearing a trench coat and a deer stalker, just stay away. Just
The high black socks, no pants.
Ew, and sandals.
sandals.
The Crocs.
Oh no. Oh, you had to take it there.
Oh, I went there.
God. Okay, so
What else you got?
that is slice of bread number 1 is about, and they are, for these particular types of unsolved cases, are a little bit short because it was 3 shakes of the willy and then none to be seen until the tartan trousers attack the next year. So and the tartan trousers flasher is still at large or it's small, we're not sure. We're not sure.
Literally no sightings. So
yeah, so we shall see. And yeah, so poor Tunbridge Wells. And I know that they had interviewed the mayor or the equivalent of the mayor over there, who was a little bit depressed that Tunbridge Wells, who had been known more for Sherlock Holmes, was now kind of still known for Sherlock Holmes, but with a different twist to it. So it's a bummer for everyone involved. So we're going to take a little step back to March of 2015, and this is taking place in New Zealand. And this caught my attention because most of the headlines read "Phantom Pool Pooper."
Ew.
Foul.
So this is about a serial pooper who
You don't say.
Sunny, we know how much you love poop.
It's my favorite. God, just
This one time at UTEP,
this one.
I reconstituted prehistoric poop.
You know what? Maybe that'll be my fun fact for next time. That might be it. But yeah, so this poor swimming pool, the local Splash Palace complex in Invercargill, New Zealand.
Invercargill?
Has a mystery pool pooper or poopers, they're not sure, that had plagued the
Oh my God.
for 6 weeks. There was more and more manpower added to the 6-week investigation, with some clues noting, with the lead investigator noting that another pool in Dunedin was recently closed for the same reason. He thought it may
Dunedin.
And I quote, some sort of coordinated attack around the country, perhaps. The staff had been placed on watch to catch the phantom pool pooper, but the culprit remained at large. There are cameras, said the owner at the pool complex, and I quote, but not high definition enough to pick up the red face of someone squinting, he said.
Oh, this is so gross.
They did launch a, and I quote, tasteful CSI investigation into the Code Browns. Poos were found in the pools on 6 Friday evenings in a row in February and March of 2015, which caused a media storm. A lot of theories about who it could be. And the owner was very distressed, saying that he was very proud of his pool and that it was becoming famous for the wrong reasons. It was very disruptive for the operation of the pool, said Thompson. The public was actually understanding, and per attendance figures, they were still coming in regular numbers. So the mayor said that publicity was not great for the city, and I will end it by saying, as the mayor quoted, Phantom pooer in the pool isn't the sort of headline you want around the country. Unfortunately, they never caught the phantom pooper, but that infamy still lives at that local pool in New Zealand.
Gross.
So
I'm never going swimming again.
Cold case that unfortunately has never been solved. Cold poo that has never been picked up, if you will, just left out there. And
Alone and afraid.
are you guys hating this?
I'm never going swimming.
What I love is if you were ever friends with like a lifeguard in high school or anything, they would tell you such horror stories about what would go on in the after hours. Like, Andrea, you know which one I'm talking about. We were there. More recently than I'd like to admit. So yeah, hopefully if there were any code browns, we were not aware. So that's
we were peacefully, blissfully, thankfully unaware.
Oblivious.
So part of the reason that I picked these was just because of the headlines. It just made me so happy because it was the Sherlock Holmes flasher. We had the phantom pool pooper, and for the third headline, I'm taking you all the way back to 1876.
Ooh.
Discuss the Kentucky meat shower.
Okay.
So this was an incident that took place on March 3rd of 1876, where in Bath County, Kentucky, near the settlement of Olympia Springs, there was a...
But I named my period.
What happened?
That's the name of AJ's time of the month.
Oh, Olympia Springs.
That's funny because mine is go the fuck away. And we've lost all of our male listeners.
Yeah, no. And you guys, mine is called the Kentucky meat shower.
Oh my goodness. I thought that was called your Tuesday.
Everyone.
You and your 3 fingers of bourbon.
Who wants to go for Korean barbecue? Okay.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. Okay. So this happened around noon, 3rd, in 1876. Unexplained chunks of meat rained down for a period of several minutes.
It's raining meat. Hallelujah. It's raining meat. Hallelujah.
So there were several witnesses to it, including a Mrs. Crouch, who lived on a farm, who was making soap on her porch. The meat looked gristly, according to Mrs. Crouch, and she watched the meat start to slap the ground after it fell from the sky. It was unclear really what the meat was, and there are several explanations for how it happened, where the meat's origination was, and I'll tell you what the most popular theory was here in a second, but I want to describe the meat to you. So most of the meat was approximately 2 by 2 inches, but at least one was 4 by 4 inches. There was a lot of speculation about what type of meat it was. A lot of people said it was beef, but they did a report in the Scientific American, and 2 gentlemen tasted it and judged it to be lamb or deer. A hunter around the area identified it as bear meat. And while writing in the Sanitarian, a Leopold Brandius said that it was nostoc, which was a type of cyanobacteria. There was a lot of analysis of different meat samples. Some said that it was from a horse or a human infant.
Oh.
And there were different types of meat, some being lung tissue, muscle, and cartilage. So the most popular theory.
It sounds like you're describing El Paso Menudo.
I'm describing Chico's Tacos right now.
I'm so hungry, guys.
Same. Taco Cabana.
But so the most popular theory for what happened is the vulture theory. Would you like to know what the vulture theory is?
I am dying to know.
I mean, whether or not I am, here it comes.
So yeah, I'm just here to well, luckily there's nothing in your stomach, so it'll be nothing but bile, if anything does happen. But
H2.
Vultures like to eat, as you know, partially decayed carcasses, but they tend to gorge themselves when they eat because it's unclear when they're going to find their next carcass. So typically they need to kind of sit and digest, same. So kind of sit around, unbutton their pants and chill for a while. But if a predator comes along for them or something is alarming, they'll take off. And usually at that point, they're kind of too heavy to fly. So while in the air, they will vomit as they're taking off. So that is a potential theory of vulture regurgitation, but was never able to be proven. And when they looked at it, it said that because the pieces looked like they were torn, it potentially makes sense, but it still wasn't clear because they couldn't identify what type of animal it was, nor why it would have come from so high in the sky. So, there's a lot of horrifying things about this, including that we don't really know what caused the Kentucky meat shower. I would love to come up with some fun theories, but what would be really fun is just knowing that a lot of people probably ate vulture vomit, and that's all she wrote.
I'm going to have a nice salad for dinner, maybe look at an apple.
Just gonna continue to drink my wine.
So I was pretty excited because it was penises, poop, and meat showers as what we had going on for today.
Your favorite things.
Yeah, all of my favorite things. So the bakery really had a plethora of different types of bread today, and all of these have never been solved. And so just rest assured that if you ever feel alone out there, you can know that Sherlock Holmes, the phantom pool pooper, and potentially vomiting vultures are out there for you. So you're welcome.
I'm never leaving my house.
Shout out to Sunny for straight not reading our Facebook messages.
Oh, did I miss stuff?
No, it's fine. This is fine. I just think it's funny.
I just think it's funny because you guys are probably being super mean right now.
We're actually texting about you right now.
You guys just keep me around. I'm like, this is you're like, oh, bless your heart.
We're full on Stacy voices like, oh my God, AJ, she covered unsolved true crime. She obviously didn't read the syllabus.
I didn't read the syllabus in college either. So that's
hey, GED for the win. Here it is.
Thank goodness AJ read the syllabus. Because
AJ read the syllabus.
We would not have passed.
I'm gonna start sending you, you're gonna have to send me read receipts from now on. Give me a back brief.
No. All right, take us away, Randy. Reverse shit sandwich.
Reverse shit sandwich. Okay, so I'm going to be totally honest with our fair listeners. I had a solid hour to research this week because shit show. But so I'm going to be covering the case of Evelyn K. Day. So much in the way that AJ's was the oldest cold case in, I think you said the country?
That's it's one of the oldest.
So mine is the oldest in Weld County, which is in beautiful Colorado. So she disappeared. Miss Evelyn Cade, she was a business lab monitor working nights at Ames Community College in Greeley, Colorado, which I don't know where that is. I know where two places are out in Colorado, Colorado Springs and Denver. And then everything else is just a white mist. So she was last seen getting into her car at around 10 p.m. on November 26, 1979. And the next morning, her husband realized that she'd never returned home from work, and he immediately filed a missing persons complaint. Obviously, he was the first suspect, but he had a pretty airtight alibi and he had nothing to do with it. So he also reported to her coworkers that she was missing. The next evening, around 5:30 p.m., two of Evelyn's coworkers were driving home when they saw her red 1977 Datsun station wagon parked on the eastbound shoulder of 20th Street, which was just southwest of the campus. The coworkers approached the vehicle. They found Evelyn's body in the back seat of the car. They ran to a nearby fitness center. They called 911. The cops arrived, start processing the scene. Evelyn had been beaten, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death with the belt of her own overcoat. Remember, this is 1979, so DNA it was a thing, but we didn't know it was a thing yet. So they did a sexual assault examination on the body. DNA was recovered, but no suspects were named. And again, they didn't know that they had DNA yet. They just knew that they had semen. I'm going to start by, I did try to do a lot of research on this case, because if you have listened before, you'll know that I don't like to spotlight the killers. I like to highlight the victims. Unfortunately, there was no evidence that I could find on Evelyn. I couldn't find her date of birth. I couldn't find her backstory. The only thing that the articles that I read said, which will be in the show notes, is that she had 2 children and the youngest was only 6 months old at the time of her death.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm not going to be able to talk a lot about Evelyn just because I couldn't find anything about her outside of her murder. So the case sat until 2020. Zero progress was made, but in 2020, Weld County created a dedicated cold case unit, and these detectives' only jobs was to investigate cold cases. And Evelyn's was one of the top 10 priorities that they listed to look into because they had semen from the original crime scene. So on May 1st, 2020, Detective Byron Castellan contacted the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and requested to have the killer's DNA profile compared to the millions of profiles in the National Combined DNA Index System, or CODIS, which you'll know if you're like me and you watch Criminal Minds and CSI. In August 26th of 2020, the report came back that the DNA matched a man named James Herman Dye. This piece of shit, he was a convicted felon. So he was living in Colorado for a little bit and then he moved to Kansas, and the only thing I could find was his Colorado criminal history. So his Colorado criminal history includes arrests on suspicion of secondary sexual assault, 2 sexual assaults on children, an attempted sexual assault and 3rd-degree assault beginning in October 1977, which would have been 2 years before Evelyn's murder, and up to March 1987, which was when he moved to Kansas. In 1977, he pled guilty to sexual assault. In 1982, he pled guilty to 3rd-degree assault, and in 1987, he pled guilty to sexual assault on a child. So
again, this is the priest all over again, where it's like, okay, so I know you did it, but like let's release you and like let's see how you do. Oh, you did it again. Hey, stop it. And it's like, but look at all the people he didn't assault.
Right.
Okay, well,
it gets better. So, so on October 5th, 1977, which again, this is 2 years before Evelyn was murdered, give or take, Dye, and I know that this is going to be very vague. There just wasn't a lot of details on this. Dye was standing on the side of the road with a woman who was holding a baby. I don't know who the woman was. another woman was driving home. She stopped to pick them up, thinking because of the woman and the baby that it was safe, which I think I would do now. If I saw a woman with a baby and a man, I would probably think it was.
Same. Like when you're little, your mom always tells you, like, if you get lost, go find a woman. It's better if she has a child with her, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't know who this woman is. I don't know where she went further on in the story, but the woman driver, agreed to take them home. He directed her down this remote dirt road. He grabbed her by the neck with both hands, put the car in park, forced the woman out of the car, and then forced her to some bushes where he raped her. He was arrested for that because she did report it, but it doesn't say how much jail time, if any, he served. Because usually with a guilty plea, it's a like Sunny said, like, don't do it again. So at the time of Evelyn's murder, Dye was 23, and he was enrolled in automotive classes in the college throughout that time from 1979 to 1982. So here's where it gets frustrating. Detective Castellan checked back in the tip lines that had come in after Evelyn's murder, and it had come up because of a tip reported to Crime Stoppers in 1988. So roughly 9 years after her death. Somebody called in and said that they believe that Dye is, quote, the one who killed the girl or is very much involved in the murder. The tipper said that on the night of the murder, Dye came home with blood all over his clothes and got rid of them that night. The person also said that night that Dye talked about a girl being killed out at Ames, even though Day's death had not yet been reported on the news. This tip was never followed up. Nobody ever did anything with it. When Detective Castellan started reinvestigating the case in 2020, he reached out to Dye's now ex-wife, and she was just like, oh no, yeah, he probably did it. He's definitely a killer type thing. So luckily the DNA did match in 2020. He has been arrested. One of the reasons I don't have a lot of information on the case is because he's still awaiting trial. So he's being charged with 2 murder 1 charges, and it's because the cops don't know how she died, if he raped her with the intention of killing her or if he killed her to keep her quiet. So there's 2 different scenarios that are playing out. So they're charging him with both scenarios, and I think it's just to see which one is more accurate, or if he ends up confessing and saying what happened. So sorry, I know that was super short and I talk very fast because I am from South Philly. Don't judge me. But
That was good.
So that is the case of Evelyn K. Day, and hopefully sometime soon we can give you guys an update that this fucking dirtbag is convicted of it.
It's just nice to know that, like, there is still there's hope for those ones where they can't figure it out right now. And I mean, it's not great. It's not great that it has to happen later, but
it just makes me happy that all of these, because there's tons of unsolved murders and unsolved rapes and unsolved sexual assaults. So it makes me happy that these pieces of shit that did this back in the 70s, back in the 80s, back in the 50s, now they're looking back over their shoulder because of all the advancements that we're making with forensic science. Like, I hope you're fucking scared, bro.
I know it's nice. And it's just this whole idea of like, oh, we need to be scared because like everything's, and I'm like, yeah, well, just don't rape people. Just don't rape people. Super easy. So like, if you're thinking about it, just don't do it. And then you know what? Then everything's going to be fine.
Just use the buddy system. If you think like you're going to rape somebody, tell your buddy and I'll stop you from raping somebody.
But does that buddy have a buddy?
Or use a rape whistle. If you feel like you're about to rape someone, please blow the whistle so we can identify you and get you to a place that's away from everyone. That's all.
Just be honest with your intentions. If you're on a date with somebody and you want to rape them, tell them so they can get away.
Yeah, I feel like
on a lighter note,
do
we have some shout outs?
We do have a shout out. What is your name, love? Sorry, I'm very discombobulated today. So I want to give a shout out to Tracy Dawkins, who is Our very first comment on YouTube. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Aunt Tracy. I love you.
I'm sorry that you had to listen to this at work. Hopefully none of your colleagues are judging you because we cover some things. Maybe have headphones.
For sure.
Yeah, have a flask of, I don't know, vodka or bourbon or wine or whatever suits you. But thank you so much.
You have like a
cheers, Tracy.
Cheers.
Cheers, Tracy. Woo!
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you so much for everybody that's been commenting and liking the pictures and our Facebook messages and Instagram and watching on YouTube, and our 8 subscribers. I don't know who you are. I will find out because before we started recording, AJ was like, we have subscribers. I was like, where? And I forgot that we post on YouTube. Sorry. So you can find us at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime on Facebook and Instagram. We're also on Patreon at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime, and then also on YouTube at Bourbon, Wine, and True Crime. So thank you for listening. I know this episode
vodka.
Bourbon, Wine, True Crime, and vodka. TM. I know this is coming out a little bit late. Life's been a little bit crazy for us. We all do have full-time jobs. So thank you for your patience and thank you for absolutely suffering through the first episode. I think our audio has been getting better. I've discovered editing software. We heart you so much.
Oh, so much heart.
So much heart. Well, we will see you guys again next week where, spoiler alert, where we'll be covering generational crimes.
Bum, bum, bum.
We'll make sure Sunny, I'll send you a more detailed description of what you're covering.
No, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to. And then I'm going to come with a case about genital crimes.
Maybe we'll just stick with that, the typos. All right, well, we will see you guys. We will see you guys soon.
Good
Love
night.
you.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.